I have a little bit of a history with Hollow Knight. If you hadn't put it together, this map that you may have seen knocking around the internet in the 3 or 4 or however many years it's been since Hollow Knight launched was made by me. There's a reason why my YouTube channel is linked down in the corner on this particular version, though it might not have been on older versions of it. I put this together over many, many hours, and at this particular point in time, almost 70,000 people, unique people, have used my map on Steam, which completely discounts the number of people that have been able to find it through one of the many guide sites that decided to steal it and upload it for themselves. So, I like Hollow Knight. In fact, I have multiple Hollow Knight t-shirts, though I couldn't find the one that I've got with Hornet on. I don't know where I've put that. It's around somewhere. So, during the Xbox Game Pass live stream announcement thing the other day, there was a new trailer for Hollow Knight Silksong. And it was the other day, because it's the 15th of June as I'm recording this. The issue is that I was actually gaming and watching Lobos Jr. co-stream the Xbox presentation thing. At the time, I had no idea a Silksong trailer was going to be dropping, and therefore, full disclaimer, because I believe honesty is important, I have seen the trailer once. Precisely once, because I was waiting until I got an actual moment to sit down and watch the trailer again to react to it. Because it's been, what, 2+ days now? My memory isn't great. So, yes, I have seen the trailer before, so this is not my very first impression. If that is what you were after, I'm sorry. However, realistically, there was only one thing that I thought about whilst I was watching that trailer, and I'll see whether this second watching actually gives me that same impression. Otherwise, as I said, I was already in the middle of doing some gaming at the time, so whilst I tried to pause the game that I was playing and focus on the trailer, for better for worse, I didn't get the full impression of it anyway. So, disclaimer aside, let us watch together. And I'll probably do some of my little talky deconstruction stuff after, though I'm pretty certain Mossbag's already done a pretty good one of those by now. I haven't watched his. Let's watch the Hollow Knight Silksong 2022 Xbox Game Pass Festival thing trailer. In fact, Mossbag's definitely done one, because it's linked down right there. I'm sure it's very interesting. I'm going to go and watch it straight after. I've also got a note, which I will check out after. So, Hollow Knight Silksong Xbox Game Pass reveal trailer. From the Xbox and Bethesda showcase. Let us watch. Make sure the sound's not massively loud. Fight for the fate of a haunted land. New enemy types. Music. Flying up jet streams. Bouncing. Elevators covered in cobwebs. Hunt. Yeah, there was the thing that I noticed. I'll bring it back up in a moment. Some new bosses to kill. Hornet using her hunter's tools to mess around in combat. I haven't even looked at the UI in the corner because I'm so focused on the center of the screen. I kind of wish I hadn't turned annotations on. I like the fact that she's using her, I'm going to call it a Silkbind attack because it looks like something from Monster Hunter Rise. There is especially cool. I like how she uses it to keep herself in the middle. Little bit of a hiccup there. I don't know whether that was intended or not. But a very short trailer.
Play it day one with Game Pass.
I will be playing it day one. I will not be playing it day one with Game Pass. I will be purchasing it on Steam. There's reasons for that. Map making reasons. I'm pretty certain as with Hollow Knight, that the game will be made in Unity. And for those of you that don't know, when I'm putting maps together for Unity games, I often, after I've finished kind of playing through the game and getting 100%, I have a dig around in the game files to see what I can find in there and drag out to use in my maps. I didn't just screen grab everything from my Hollow Knight one and cut everything out painstakingly. That would have made it take even longer than it actually did. You can't use the tools that I use with Xbox Game Pass games. The way that they are partitioned off on a Windows drive means that you just can't mess with them. You can't access them. Unless you do certain things, which you have to do every single time the game updates. And it's a pain in the ass. It's not worth it. So I will be supporting the devs and buying the game on Steam, frankly. I will probably be putting out a map for the game eventually. I will not be putting that map out in the Steam guides. Just like I haven't put out any maps in Steam guides, apart from the Haiku the Robot one, which was an experiment and, as it turns out, a mistake. I'm no longer putting maps out on the Steam guides section. And I know that cuts down 70,000 plus potential people that might want to use them. But there are websites out there that will scrape every Steam guide and upload it onto their own website and cover it with adverts and make money off it. And I am done with that. I'm done with the thievery, and I'm done with that kind of stuff. So if you want to see my map of Silksong, and there will be one, I'll put out a video about it several days probably after the game's launch, because I wasn't good at Hollow Knight. I played Hollow Knight before I really started doing YouTube, and one of my biggest two regrets, as I'm sure I've mentioned in other videos, is the fact that I do not have a my first Hollow Knight playthrough and my first Bloodborne playthrough on YouTube. Because I didn't have... Well, I had a YouTube channel, but I wasn't using it for anything. I didn't have the equipment or a powerful enough PC at the time to do that kind of thing. So I will be doing a playthrough, my first playthrough of Hollow Knight Silksong for YouTube, probably. But I wasn't good at the first game. So it took me a long time to complete Hollow Knight, which is why I've got like 120 odd hours. It took me 40 plus hours for my first playthrough of Hollow Knight. It was 100%, but it was 40 plus. Though, to be fair, other Metroidvanias that I've played recently have also taken a similar length of time. Although not necessarily for the kind of positive reasons that I have for Hollow Knight. Anyway, I think I've made my points there. Yeah. So there will be a Silksong playthrough, though it will probably be torturous to watch. I'll probably end up calling it a map through, because that's my intention, as well as to enjoy the game, obviously, multiple years after it was announced. But I will be making a map for it. Just, you'll have to check out and follow me on YouTube. Segue. Or go to demajen.co.uk, which is where I'm currently archiving all of my maps via Google Drive. At some point, I'll actually turn it into a proper website. But it's not one at the moment. It's about as bare bones as you can get. Let's take a look once more at this trailer. I'm going to turn the sound off for it, because I'm going to stop and start it as we go for this. So we're going to start off with Hornet making her entrance. First impression of this zone, very mustard. Not to the extent that the Fungal Waste was in Hollow Knight, but it's got that kind of gaseous, greeny yellow vibe to it, unless that's just my monitor's calibration. Obviously, this is not a 4K. No, there isn't a 4K version. And weirdly enough, Team Cherry themselves haven't put out a version of this trailer on their YouTube channel, which I find very odd. I wish there was a 4K version, because the aliasing on it, or probably the YouTube artifacts, make everything look ever so slightly blurry, because I'm watching it on a 4K monitor, and it's a 1080p video. The enemy design is cool. I like the liveliness, the livingness, it's not technically a word, of this area, the life in this area. And I like the fact that it's very green path in essence. It looks like, and one thing that I hope they do is, one of the things that Hollow Knight excelled at was the way its zones had a visual color identity. You know, Fungal Waste was very yellowy orange. I can't even remember what the pink place was called. With the jellyfish everywhere. Yeah. The zones had their own distinctive color identity and palettes, so it looks like that's going to be happened here. I also like the active question raising. Active questions are important in trailers. Of a haunted land. Haunted by what? The enemy designs are as cool as you would expect. I like the fact that we've still got some of the kind of familiar statuesque things in the background that are very reminiscent of the ones in Hollow Knight, because that ties the games together, in the same way that the characters do. I also like these little critters here, which I think are just running away, aren't they? Yeah, they're just ambient background. We've got bouncing off specific kind of gunk-covered objects. These remind me very much of things from Deep Nest, kind of wrapped up. They're not. They're actually very different, but they remind me of that. They also remind me a little bit of Mr. Chips, although most of you, I don't think, unless you're of a certain age and certain nationality, are going to get that reference. I hope bouncing off things is intuitive and easy to control, just as it was in Hollow Knight. Hollow Knight was infamous for its tight controls, but it looks pretty decent. We get some bosses. We get some Path of Pain, where we seem to be moving along moving platforms. This is a new mechanic, and I like the fact that she's got her sword down, well, her nail down by her side. It's a needle, actually, isn't it, that Hornet uses? Floating up these jets reminds me actually a little bit of Soldiers that I've just finished playing and mapping out. The idea that, you rise up the water and that. A nice kind of traversal mechanic. Little fly things seem to be back. Taking a look at her, I was going to say inventory, her UI. We've obviously got items that can be used on up and down. I think that's a healing item. Didn't we find that out in the previous trailer? A healing consumable. And this is her silk meter spool thing. More bouncing. Again, slightly different color palette here. So a different area, much colder white. And also not as many items I'm noticing on her UI, so perhaps a little bit earlier in the game. The white roses all over the place are very nice. And I like the fact that the spikes are very clear. Some of the games that I've played recently, you can't always tell whether an environmental object is going to hurt you. These, those are going to hurt. It's very clearly something that you are not going to be able to touch. So we've got more minecarts. Again, different color shifts showing off the different zones, but also, and again, we can't read too much into this from the trailer. Same health pips, same UI elements. They're a different thing there. So are these all early places that we can go to? Is this a transport hub thing? First impression with this was that the ring that she hooks onto isn't all that tied into the background elements. And my very first impression was, not sure I like that. And then, of course, I remember that one of my big critiques of 2D Metroidvania games is when interactable objects aren't clear compared to background elements. And actually, even though my first reflex is, doesn't quite look tied in enough, I think I prefer it this way. I think for gameplay, especially considering how hectic Hollow Knight was, having the objects very clearly stand out is important to me. Going up on a massive lift covered in cobwebs. We get some actual combat here versus these little kind of cloaked enemies. Right. My one, and I'm not going to say issue, but one thing that I noticed about the combats, see if I can slow this down, is that her attack animation is very low compared to where it looks like it hits. I don't know if I can show it. Obviously, she's bouncing there. But yeah, her actual attack looks like it swings down quite low, and yet the arc of the attack, the actual effect, is quite middle. And that was the thing that I noticed the very first time I watched it. That was my initial first impression. The attack animation versus the attack effects, little bit incongruous. See if I can skip back a couple of seconds. I can't slow this down anymore, but I'll see if I can show you. Maybe it was just because she's in the air, but she looks really low to the ground compared to. Maybe it's just not as. Oh no, you could just see it there. Her swipe was really low, almost ankle level, but the effect was in the middle, and I'm wondering if that's going to throw me off a little bit. It's a minor niggle, and I'm sure in actual motion, playing the game myself, it won't be a problem. At least I hope it won't be a problem. If it is a problem, then that's a problem, because I'm not good at the games. I don't need anything that's going to throw me off by things not being where I think they should be. Anyway, back to it. What else have we got? Some stuff falling from the ceiling. I like that spinny attack. Very reminiscent of Grim Troop stuff. We've still got our extra hearts there. This item, which I'm assuming was a healing consumable, or maybe it gave you extra hearts. I can't remember. Clearly equipable to whichever direction that you want to use it. I'm assuming this is going to be assigned to a button, but the fact that it's got up and down leads me kind of to assume that it's going to be aligned to the D-pad, which means that the game is most likely going to be analog control, stick control. Don't know. We'll have to see how that works. Big enemies versus small enemies. Little night things. I like these kind of needle bombs or whatever they're going to be that she throws out and they attack. Double enemy. I think this is going to be a gauntlet fight rather than a boss fight because we've got gates closed there. I'm intrigued by this bell up here. I'm wondering if that is going to be circling? What? Just because I'm making a circling motion with the mouse. Signaling is the word I was after. Different waves? Because it looks... It's got that outline that makes me believe that it's an interactable object. So I'm intrigued as to why it is there. Hornet's not doing anything with it, but it doesn't look like it's a background element. So, don't know. Either way, combat looks fun and frantic, and I'm going to be really bad at it. Rising lava sections. I like these. Again, not good at them. As you will see in my soldiers map through, as and when I ever get around to releasing the Fire Temple section, which is going to be a while yet, because it's a long game. I love the glow from this and how everything seems to be... Speaking of glowing, I'm quite glowy, aren't I? I hadn't noticed that at the start. Probably should have done something about that. Hope I don't do that whole weirdly transparent thing where my forehead is too shiny. Sorry about that. Survive. Lots of kind of precision platforming there. I'm sure there will be a Path of Pain style thing. I'm quite interested in this here. What is it that Hornet is stabbing her blade into? It looks like she's taking some power and her silk meter's doing something. That reminds me of the Soul Master. The fire effects there look ever so slightly out of place, out of character for the rest of the effects. And that is really cool. Her using her silk bind, whatever it's going to be called. Silk flourish? I don't know. It's probably got a name. I just don't know it. To keep herself between those enemies. So kind of like a... like the pogoing mechanic, but actually kind of bouncing it back and forth to keep her in place between two enemies. I think that's really cool. I wonder if it's... I assume it's tied to the actual silk meter, so I don't know how often she's going to be able to do it. More big bosses. Lots of single enemies. This is... I can't remember what it's called. Is it silk, actually? But yeah, lots of cool enemies being shown off. Lots of combat. Little bits of traversal. Xbox. Play it day one with Game Pass. I will be playing it, as I said, day one. Very impressive trailer. Obviously, it needed to be impressive because it's been so long since the announcement. We desperately needed a new trailer. We needed new information. We needed confirmation that the game still exists because Team Cherry, as a very small team, are very quiet about this. Every now and again, they'll hint at something on Twitter, but they don't post there very often. You know, they're not showing work in progress stuff because, frankly, the first game was so successful that they don't need to. They don't need to drip feed us with information to keep the hype level high. The hype level is already redonkulously high. And that must be incredibly beneficial for them. You know, they've got this relationship with Xbox. They can release the game as and when it is ready. Now, they did say in the overall Xbox presentation that every game that they were showing was going to release within the next 12 months. So we've got until start of June, or mid-June now, I suppose it is, mid-June 2023 to get our hands on Silksong. I would take a guess, because didn't the first game release in like February? Or January? No, it was January, wasn't it? Wasn't it like January the 17th? It was around my birthday, if I remember correctly. Which I probably don't, because I'm old. I suspect it'll be the start of 2023. And I hope, above all else, that Silksong does not fall into the same trap that the original did and that a lot of Unity games do. Hollow Knight at launch was unoptimized. I've got a lot of really positive things to say about Hollow Knight, but at launch, if you watch anybody else's first playthrough of it, playing it right at launch, it was stuttery at times. Unity is an unoptimized mess of a game engine for stuff, especially 2D Metroidvanias, I've noticed. I don't know if it's due to map size, I don't know. Soldiers has been terrible when it came to its checkpoints and saving systems. I don't know why. I'm running it off on SSD. All of my drives are SSDs. You know, there shouldn't be any read-write issues. The game engine shouldn't stutter when you checkpoint or save the game. Hollow Knight wasn't just when you were saving. Although I suppose the game saves constantly, doesn't it, because of its Souls-like nature. That's my big hope, that it has enough time in playtesting and optimization rounds that we don't have those same kinds of issues, because that they got away with it to an extent for the first game because it was their first game and it was Kickstarter backed and, you know, so on and so forth. I don't think they can get away with doing it a second time. There's so much hype for this game that any niggles, really. I mean, you're going to have your White Knights who are going to defend the game, whatever. It's like, oh, it'll get ironed out. It's like, it should be ironed out before launch. They should know better now based on what the original game was like. I will be really disappointed if it's a stuttery, Unity-laden mess. But otherwise, really looking forward to the haunted lands and discovering just what on earth is going on. I'm also really hoping that I can find some 4K footage of Silksong somewhere, because releasing games trailers in 1080p these days, why? if you've got a PC powerful enough to develop the game in the Unity development engine, and stop and start it and play it, you've got a PC that's powerful enough to record 4K footage. I'm pretty certain. I haven't had much of a playthrough with the Unity development kit myself, though I do have it installed, I believe. I hope that's not causing me problems. Maybe that's what's causing me issues. It's trying to interact with that. No, that would be daft. Don't know. Anyway, I've talked somehow, for 25 minutes. This is the story of my life at the moment. I'm working in a school currently with 50-minute lessons, and they seem to fly by because I spend too much time talking. I'm going to go. Thank you very much for watching, folks. I'm going to be really interested as to what kind of things I've waffled about in this video, because I can't remember anything that I've said. But thank you for joining me for my first impressions of the Silksong trailer. I did leave it a couple of days since accidentally seeing it the first time, just so that I could forget most things. Yeah, I'm excited. And I suspect it's going to be the start of next year that it comes out. It could be in time for Christmas this year, but I'm suspecting the start of next year, Q1 23, would be my guess. But we'll see. We'll see. Until next time, thank you very much for joining me for these impressions. Stay safe out there. Just watching. Cheerio. That was a really awkward sign-off. Bye! Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, why not click the like button and consider subscribing. Remember, you can ring the bell notification icon to get notified when new videos go live. And until next time, cheerio.